ICYF Secretariat. I am honored to be moderating today's side event under the theme, Youth-Driven Solutions for Advancing Social Development, Perspectives and Contributions of Youth to Accelerate Social Integration, held on the margins of the United Nations Second World Summit for Social Development in the city of Doha, State of Qatar. This Solution Side event is organized by the ICYF Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum in esteemed partnership with QADEM and the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation, with the aim of providing innovative solutions and underscoring the transformative role that young people play in promoting sustainable social development at an era marked by polarization and economic inequality. We hope that these solutions and recommendations reached at the end of this valuable gathering will be reflected in the key findings of World Social Summit 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, we're thrilled to begin today's solution event by watching a recorded speech given by His Excellency Ambassador Tariq Bakhit, the Assistant Secretary General of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation.
I am President of ICYF, Excellency Ms. Jane Connell, Director of the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation. Excellency Mrs. Kanan Sar, President of QADEM. Ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It is a great honor to join you at this important event, Youth-Driven Solutions for Advancing Social Development, held alongside the Second World Summit for Social Development 2025. And let me begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, QADEM, and the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation for organizing this timely and important gathering. It gives us a vital platform to hear the voices of young people and to explore how youth-led ideas can accelerate social integration and sustainable development. Excellencies, we live in an era of extraordinary scientific and technological progress. Yet, despite these achievements, the world faces rising inequality, polarization, and social fragmentation. This makes our shared mission even more urgent. Youth are not just beneficiaries of change, they are its driving force. Their creativity, courage, and commitment are essential to shaping a more inclusive and peaceful future. It is our responsibility to empower them, provide opportunities, and ensure they have a seat at the decision-making table. Your Excellencies, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation remains deeply committed to working with all partners to advance youth participation in building prosperous and resilient societies. We encourage our young people to embrace innovation, acquire new skills, and better use of technology as a tool for fostering and developing of a social good and cohesion. Before concluding, allow me to remind the international community of its responsibility towards the Palestinian people, especially children, women, and youth. Their right to live in peace and dignity must become a reality, not a dream. Let us continue investing in youth, amplifying their voices, and working beside them on the path towards a fairer and more inclusive world. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your motivational words. Your contributions and support to youth empowerment creates a real impact in the OIC region and beyond. And as His Excellency mentioned, it is indeed our responsibility to provide opportunities for youth. I would like to now give the floor to a recorded speech given by His Excellency Mr. Taha Ayhan, the President of the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, who constantly provides the youth with diverse opportunities.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, esteemed partners, and dear young leaders, dear ladies, gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to welcome you all to this timely and inspiring gathering organized under the framework of the World Social Summit 2025. On behalf of the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, ICYF, I extend my deepest appreciation to our valued partners, CADEM, and the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation, for joining hands with us in advancing this global conversation. Our world faces many pressing challenges: rising inequalities, gaps in opportunity, and rapid technological change that sometimes leaves behind our most vulnerable. At the same time, we see a new generation of young people across the OIC member states are stepping forward with creativity, with resilience, with compassion. At ICYF, we are proud to support this movement. Through our International Incubation Center, we provide training mentorship, investment linkages, and cross-border networking to young entrepreneurs from over 20 OIC countries. They are developing impactful solutions to both local and global challenges, introducing innovative ideas in fields such as health, tech, fintech, edtech, and other emerging sectors that drive inclusive and sustainable social development. As we get to today, I would like to share a few reflections that lie at the heart of ICYF vision and youth empowerment. Across our member states, young people are no longer waiting for change to happen. They are taking initiative, leading movements, and shaping solutions in their own communities. When provided with the right opportunities, skills, and networks, they turn aspirations into ventures and ideas into real impact. Empowerment, however, is never a one-sided effort. It's a partnership built on shared responsibility and trust. At ICYF, our initiatives broadly focus on key areas that are vital to youth and youth development, such as education, entrepreneurship, employment, volunteerism, cultural engagement, digital transformation, and peace building. Through these domains, we seek to promote a holistic model of empowerment that connects learning with innovation and civic participation with sustainable growth. Achieving this vision requires strong cooperation among governments, the private sector, academia, civil society, and most importantly, the young people themselves. Today's gathering stands as a meaningful example of that partnership in action. Finally, we must remember that effective solutions grow from local realities but can reach global influence. The OIC region is remarkably diverse from rural communities to emerging technology hubs. A young innovator in Indonesia creating an AI-based tool for education, or a startup in Nigeria developing a digital financial inclusion platforms, both contribute to a shared goal: advancing social development through creativity and collaboration. Innovation knows no borders, and when youth are empowered, progress becomes universal. Ladies and gentlemen, this gathering stands as a powerful reminder that progress is a shared responsibility. When young people are meaningfully included in policymaking, supported in entrepreneurship, and empowered in civic life, our societies grow stronger, more equitable, and more resilient. At ICYF, we remain committed to advancing this vision, aligning our programs with global development agenda, and ensuring that the creativity, determination, and leadership of youth become central drivers of sustainable and inclusive growth. Let us therefore commit to building a genuine culture of collaboration, one where ideas evolve into tangible solutions and aspirations turn into lasting impact. Together, through partnership and shared purpose, we can transform youthful potential into real social progress and ensure that today's dialogue becomes the foundation for tomorrow's meaningful change. Before I conclude, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our partners again, CADEM and the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation, for their valuable cooperation and their support and shared commitment to empowering young people. My gratitude also goes to all participating institutions, speakers, and delegates for contributing to this important exchange. Thank you for your presence, your engagement, and your belief in transformative power of youth. Let us continue this journey with the optimism and solidarity and purpose. Thank you very much for your patience.
I would like to thank His Excellency Mr. Taha Ayhan for the wonderful efforts. And as His Excellency mentioned, empowering youth is not a one-sided effort, it's a partnership. Now I would like to invite one of our partners of this event, Dr. Canan Sarı, the President of CADEM. Dr.
Thank
Canan, the
you.
floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much. Excellency, dear ladies, gentlemen, and dear friends. Warm greetings from Turkey and from all of us at the Women and Democracy Foundation, KADEM. I would like to begin by thanking the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, ICY8, for organizing this mini session. Today, we gather to talk about young people, humanity's greatest potential and responsibility. No matter where we come from, we know that by empowering youth, we shape the future of our societies, the Muslim world, and all humanity. Their participation ideas and entrepreneurial spirit make social development more effective and sustainable. Yet today's youth also face unique challenges: wars, poverty, migration, disasters, and the fast, chaotic pace of the digital world. Beyond jobs, they seek meaning and trust in a world shaped by misinformation, comparison, and pressure to conform. Many have lost faith in institutions, in politics, in media, and sometimes even in us, the adults. If we fail to create safe, fair, and inclusive space for young people, we won't only face economic challenges, we will face a crisis of trust and belonging. That's why the role of civil society and youth-focused organizations has become more important than ever. Today, I would like to share Kadem's experience in working with youth in Turkey. Kadem was founded in 2013 to build a just and safe society where women can live with dignity and equality. Our guiding principle is simple but profound. Equality is existence, justice is responsibility. This principle shapes not only how we work on women's issues, but also how we see the family, society, and young people. Because we know if women are not strong, families can't be strong. If families are not strong, societies can't stand firm. And if young people are not strong, the future can't be built. As part of this vision, we created Young Kadem, our youth branch. When we started, we asked ourselves, will we only talk to young people or will we work with them? We chose the second. Young Kadem was designed to help youth express themselves in ways that align with their values, encourage solution-oriented thinking, and empower them to take part in volunteering, social entrepreneurship, and community projects that make a real difference. Today, young people in Kadem are not observers, they are active partners. They establish university clubs, organize campaigns, run projects, and take part in every aspect of our organization. For us, youth are not a target group. They are companions on the road. Let me share three examples from our work. First, volunteering and solidarity. Young Kadem volunteers, together with our 56 local offices across Turkey, have organized environmental activities, disaster relief campaigns, and humanitarian aid for Gaza under the campaign Siblings Share. Through this experience, they didn't just deliver aid, they learned mercy, responsibility, and sense of ummah. The hands that carried the boxes also help shorten the distance between herds. Second, entrepreneurship and innovation. Our program, Women in Innovation, supports young women in technology and entrepreneurship. Hundreds of young women, from university students to young professionals, have developed business ideas, created social impact projects, and built startups that could generate both economic and social value. The message we give them is simple: your idea matters. You are part of the solution. Third, a very special project we recently completed, Shared Step, Stronger Tomorrows. After the major earthquake in Turkey, we worked for 10 months with young people who had lost family members or suffered trauma. Throughout workshops, art sessions, and group activities, they rebuilt connections, learned to cope with pain, and discovered they were not alone. This model can also be adapted for youth in crisis regions such as Gaza, Syria, or Yemen, because we don't see young people as victims of pain, but as partners in healing and rebuilding. Lastly, throughout our Work for the Future program, we support young women's transition from education to employment by providing tailored training, mentorship, and real work experience. We help them gain the skills and confidence needed to thrive in the future economy. Dear participants, all this experience taught us one key lesson. Working for young people is not enough. We must think with them, create with them, and walk with them. When youth truly have a voice, when they participate in decisions and are not only listeners but leaders, trust grows, lasting and lasting social impact becomes possible. At Kadem, we have tested these models in the field, learned from our mistakes, and solidify what works. Now it is time to expand this experience through international cooperation. And this is exactly why our partnership ICVF is so valuable. Together, as civil society organizations, governments, academic institutions, and international networks, we can design projects that place young people at the center, not at the margins. Through initiatives on cultural dialogue, social innovation, and volunteering, we can organize youth camps, innovation labs, and solidarity network for youth in crisis areas. For us, global cooperation is not just about singing protocols or shared budgets. It's about creating spaces where young people meet, work side by side, and inspire one another. By using the tools of digital age wisely, we can make young people active in social responsibility, entrepreneurship, and innovation. As we share knowledge and best practice internationally, the spaces where youth feel safe and impactful will continue to grow. Before I conclude, let me emphasize this at Kadem, we see young people not as a burden, but as companions on our journey toward justice and compassion. They identify problems, create solutions, and strengthen the culture of solidarity. Our duty is to build the mechanism that unlock this potential, to support it and help it grow. When we work together with our youth, we move closer to the goals of social development and to a more just and compassionate world. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Dr. Sara, for your contributions, esteemed partnership, and work. It's inspiring to view youths as companions, as you have mentioned. Now, I'd like to invite Ms. Laya Charles Sain, McGill Youth Advisory Delegation's UN Engagement Officer, who is also an esteemed partner at this event. Ms. Sain, the floor is yours.
Excellencies, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Laya Charles, and I am speaking on behalf of the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation, or MYAD, where I serve as an ad hoc officer. Before I share what our organization does, I would like to begin with stating that youth inclusion is essential in international forums. Young people make up the largest generation in history, and the policies adopted today will define the world that we as youth inherit tomorrow. So without our participations, decisions risk losing long-term vision, creativity, and legitimacy. Our youth bring innovation, as you said, as you all mentioned earlier, urgency, and lived experience to global governance, qualities the UN needs if it is to fulfill its promise of leaving no one behind. I would like to share Maya's experience in youth advocacy to highlight how youth efforts can make a better inclusion in international forums. So McGill is a youth-led and youth-serving NGO with special consultative status with the UN Economic and Social Council since 2006. Our mission is to ensure that young people are not only heard, but listened to, and our priorities are reflected in the decisions shaping our shared futures. We advocate for youth interests across UN platforms, such as the Commission on Social Development, through 3 main focus areas: climate and sustainability, access to services, and social inclusion. So the way that we act on these challenges are diverse. At MIAD, we empower young people to engage directly with global policymaking because we believe that youth participation must go beyond symbolic inclusion. It really must transform. One of the main ways that we achieve this is by contributing to and influencing outcome documents, which are the resolutions and statements adopted at the end of UN commissions, and those guide international law and set global priorities. Historically, these documents have too often excluded youth perspectives. When that happens, intergenerational justice is lost, and the policies risk serving the present at the expense of the future. That's why we push to include youth languages, concerns, and commitments in outcome documents. By doing so, we hold member states accountable to promises that reflect the needs and ambitions of our generation. So each year, MIAD recruits youth delegates to develop evidence-based, community-driven policy recommendations. These are not abstract proposals. They emerge from dialogues with diverse youth communities around the world, and most importantly, around our community at McGill, and those are through our community consultations. We then bring those policies to UN forums, including in-person sessions in New York, to advocate directly with diplomats and government representatives. Beyond this advocacy, we also engage in the process of negotiating the specific wording and language that is included in UN documents by getting involved in their drafting process. And to do so, we make recommendations, and we use agreed upon language. So these are terms that are already adopted in previous resolutions, such as the UN Decade on Action on Nutrition, for example, and to strengthen the legitimacy and acceptability of our recommendations. These strategic approaches has helped us make us tangible recommendations and contributions to documents such as the Pact for the Future, the Commission on the Status of Women resolution, and the Human Rights Council session outcome document. I would like to highlight that youth voices are essential to advance social justice around the world, and they're essential to make sure that documents around the world are more progressive. And we would like to encourage all youth around the world to build coalitions and engage in actions that can make sure that youth actions are represented around the world. Thank you so much for giving me the floor, and I give you the floor back. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sain, for McGill Youth Advisory Delegation's partnership at this event, and for you for sharing their experience, MIAD's experience. I would like to now give the floor to Dr. Ismat Zaidan, Associate Professor of Public Policy at Hamad bin Khalifa University. Dr. Zaidan, the floor is yours. Dr. Zaidan, if you could kindly open your microphone, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Martha, and thank you for all the speakers before me. So as we reflect on the future of social development, we must recognize that the challenge before us is not just lack of policy ambition. It is also a crisis of integration. So the world today is more connected than ever, yet paradoxically more fragmented. So nearly 2/3 of the global youth population, that's about like 900 million people, live in countries experiencing polarization, digital misinformation, and social unrest. So we are witnessing what I call like a triple or deficit of integration. We have the economic exclusion, we have the digital fragmentation, and we have the institutional mistrust. More than 70% of youth in developing countries work informally, without job security and without social protection. Also, regarding economic exclusion, an estimated 60% of young people now receive their primary news is through algorithmic platform, often reinforcing bias and echo chambers. And for the institutional mistrust, and we heard that from our colleague Janan, that they are losing trust. So the latest, the 2024 Edelman Trust Parameter shows the lowest global trust in government among youth since the index has been begun. So rather than passive observers, the youth, I mean the young people, are proving to be active architects of cohesion. Across regions, youth-led initiatives are not only closing gaps, they are actually redefining how we think about inclusion. In the Middle East, for example, young people are merging digital literacy with democratic or public participation to counter polarization and to strengthen the civic trust. Across Asia, Pacific, and Africa, youth also entrepreneurship is driving inclusion, creating tens of thousands of green and social jobs, and also connecting millions across borders, proving that true social integration depends on equitable opportunity. Also, at a deeper level, we are witnessing the convergence of social development and technological citizenship. And when young people use technology for civic deliberation, as in Taiwan, for example, where online dialogue feeds directly into national policymaking, they are not just using digital tools, they are rebuilding a social trust in an era of distrust. So this transformation aligns directly with SDGs. Social integration emerges where SDG intersects. So for example, when education SDG 4, it creates capability, and when gender equality SDG 5 ensures inclusion, and when strong institution SDG 16 provide justice, and when partnership SDG 7 make these efforts sustainable. Each of these actually, when youth-led, produces what I call like compound resilience, where progress is one dimension, strengthens all others. So yet to fully realize this potential, the world must shift from consulting youth to co-governing with youth. So we need structural mechanism, not just symbolic inclusion. And we have heard just now from my colleague Zanan and from Leah, amazing initiatives. There are lots in the area, in Lebanon, in Kenya, in Indonesia. And some actually are funded by the UN, the Youth for Climate Action, for example. So these cases demonstrate that when youth leadership is institutionalized, not symbolic, it yields tangible governance outcomes and community trust. They use their skills in communication, in technology, and social design to mediate across divides. So whether through online dialogue or art-based storytelling or even reviving justice workshops. So they transform actually social media from a space of division into a tool for constructive dialogue, also collective healing and civic renewable. But support must expand, of course, or extend, let's say, beyond money. It means investing in more in civic and digital capabilities, training young people in mediation, in data ethics, and policy design, so they can navigate polarized spaces and rebuild trust from within communities. It means also creating safe civic spaces, both physical and online, equally important, where young voices actually can question authority or can propose alternatives and be heard without fear. So within the rising division of the world we live in, youth, I think, remain that inclusion not achieved by homogenizing differences, but by valuing pluralism as a strength. So the new generation is redefining of meaning of belonging from national identity. Now we talk about global identity or global citizenship and global solidarity. So if we empower them, not as only participants, but partners, youth will continue to innovate in ways like institutions cannot age all, like data-driven and socially conscious. They are proving that the path to sustainable development is not top-down governance, but co-created resilience. Now, from my research, my experience mainly in society, let's say, and the intersection between society and technology, mainly sustainable societies and sustainable cities and smart cities. We all heard about the recent launch of the UN Habitat of the International Guidelines on People-Centered Smart Cities. So the central question becomes after this, how can we truly empower youth by ensuring equitable access to technology, and through it, they can have access to participation? So the guidelines actually stress that smart cities must serve like people first. Yet today, we have 2.6 billion people remain offline. 39% of those actually with internet access still do not use it meaningfully, and only 1 in 5 residents, that's 1/5 of the world, of those who have access worldwide, participants in smart cities initiatives. So add to this, barely a third of cities have adopted AI ethics frameworks for this people-centered technologies. So to bridge these divides, we must treat digital inclusion as a civic right, not as a luxury. So first of all, we need to consider digital inclusion as civic right, and then ensuring that every young person, regardless of their geography or income, can access connectivity, data, digital education by also integrating youth into decision-making boards, it's into innovation labs and into civic technology programs. Cities can turn technology from a privilege into a platform for public participation. In doing so, I believe youth become co-creators of smart, ethical, and sustainable urban futures. And that's representing the very spirit of people-centered, centric development envisioned by the UN Habitat. Thank you so much, Masa, and back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zaidan, for sharing with us your research and solutions. It was highly appreciated. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Alagi Jarju, Vice President of the ICYF, representing the African Group. Mr. Jarju, the floor is yours. Mr. Jarju, I believe your microphone is off.
Okay, I think microphone on now, Masa.
Yes, thank you so much. We can hear you. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, our able moderator, distinguished organizers, esteemed colleagues, youth leaders, and development partners. Good morning and a warm greetings from the African Group and of the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, and of course from the Gambia. It's an honor to join you in this important dialogue on youth-driven solutions for advancing social development. I sincerely commend the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, the Women and Democracy Foundation, CADEM, and of course, the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation for creating this platform as part of the Second World Summit for Social Development. Across Africa and within the OIC member states, young people continue to show that they are not bystanders in development, but key actors. They are designing innovative responses to unemployment, building peace in divided communities, and promoting equality in spaces where exclusion once prevailed. This is precisely why the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the UN Security Council Resolution 2250 on youth peace and security envision youth as genuine partners and drivers for social transformation. In the Gambia, and of course within the sub-Saharan African sub-region, where over 60% of our population is under the ages of 25, the role of young people is central in our nation's development. Through the National Youth Council, we have supported initiatives such as the launching of the Gambia's first National Action Plan for Youth Peace and Security 2025 to 2030, and this is meant to promote and maintain peace and security in communities. The climate action efforts, an environmental campaign led by youth organizations to combine climate action with social cohesion by mobilizing communities to restore degraded lands. And in the partnership with the UN Peacebuilding Fund, young Gambians have led civic education and peace awareness projects that directly reduce polarization and strengthen community trust. These activities reflect a growing culture of youth agency and accountability in shaping inclusive development across the Gambia and by extension the African region. At the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, our vision is to ensure that such initiatives are not confined by geography. We are constantly building a framework for cross-regional collaboration where a project from the Gambia can inspire youth in Nigeria, Uganda, or by extension to Asia, for example, Indonesia, where the innovation of one community becomes a shared model for many. Through training, policy, engagement, and partnership with government and civil society, ICYF continues to translate youth ambition into action, particularly in advancing SDG 4, gender equality, SGD, in advancing education, SGD 4, gender equality, SGD 5, decent work, SGD 8, and strong institutions, SDG 16. In the areas of science and technology, it is important that member states collaborate and share expertise to ensure we are able to develop together as a bloc. Within the ICYF geography, certainly when it comes to science and technology and advances in AI, we are at different levels. So as a bloc, we should be able to work together and ensure those countries, especially those within the sub-Saharan African region, are provided with the needed expertise to be able to really support their development. In this day and age, no country will develop in the absence of science and technology. Colleagues, as we reflect on global inequality, polarization, and social fragmentation, we must accept one truth. No sustainable peace or development is possible without the inclusion of youth voices. We need stronger multi-stakeholder partnerships, as in SDG 17, that go beyond consultation and ensure youth are active in planning, implementing, and evaluating development processes. We need governments and institutions to open more doors for youth representation, not as a symbolic gesture, but as a practical investment in sustainable change. As both a Gambian and an African youth leader, I have seen how quickly transformation happens when young people are trusted. Our generation does not need permission to lead. We need partnership to expand impact. Let us continue to build bridges between youth and policymakers, between regions and communities, and let us work together for a world where no young person is left behind in shaping peace, justice, and prosperity. I thank you all for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Jarju. It was an honor hearing from you. I will now invite Dr. Evren Tok, Assistant Professor in Islam and Global Affairs at the College of Islamic Studies. Dr. Tok, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone there. Masa, also just a quick like a correction. In the past 3 years, I've been working as Associate Dean for Community Engagement at the College of Public Policy, but I spent around 9 years in the College of Islamic Studies as the coordinator for the public policy program. So it's my old entity. So just to make kind of quick, now Dr. Ismet and I are acting as co-associate deans in the College of Public Policy. Just a quick correction. And thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity for all of us to share what we have been doing and what we think, how we reflect, how we understand, how we analyze, how we look at the world, and how we are trying to kind of to make the world a better place. And the youth, of course, is playing a very critical role. My intention is now in the next few minutes, I will try to share with you some of the initiatives that we have been cultivating here in the past 7, 8 years, especially. And one of them is, in fact, the initiative called Hadaba, in which we are trying to bring together different community partners, youth representation, and most importantly, our students. And the question that we are asking actually is very simple. We all talk about empowerment. What is the content of empowerment? What do we need, or what do we think as the critical skills that our students need or will need in the future? So what do they lack? So in general, in the College of Public Policy and Hamad bin Khalifa University in general, we are trying to find out ways how to build competencies, how to build capabilities that are highly needed by our students and in general by the youth to cultivate change. Of course, there are a lot of frameworks, theories of change, logic frameworks, but at the end of the day, how do we really make our students, our alumni, change makers? How do we really make them more capable of instigating change and also adapting to change? They are equally important, right? Not every change is coming from within, but there are so many different kinds of change that are coming from outside. So adaptation and being resilient, but at the same time being engaged with the outer world, but at the same time sticking to your inner values are critically important. Let me give you an example. Last year, we organized a pretty large event under Hadaba called the Summit of the Future. And the Summit of the Future was organized in parallel to the United Nations Summit happening in New York under the same title. And what we tried to do was to create a localized version of it and work on a relatively newer initiative called Inner Development Goals. I'm not sure if you have ever seen, but it's a kind of a pretty new initiative. And last year, we have worked on the different components of it, like, for instance, sense making or complexity thinking, longer term perspectives, or any kind of like connectedness or empathy or trust or mobilization skills, perseverance, right? We all know these skills, but are we really investing in them? That's very important. We want the youth to make change, but without the needed vital capacities and the tools, they can't really do much, because you need these tools to strategize, to have critical and analytical thinking. They need these tools and skills to connect, to really understand where they position themselves, to really connect with the outer world. And as we do the kind of the sessions for Hadaba, one of the important manifestations of it has been the labs. So we are trying to help the students to experiment. And in general, with the youth in Qatar, with a lot of international, as you know, Qatar is a quite diverse society. There's a lot of it's a sizable Qatari youth, but at the same time, there is equally big international youth here in Qatar. So we always benefit from this multiplicity, right? The kind of diversity. And we try to identify what are those problems that we want to tackle. And then we enable the students to engage in some experiential and experimental methods to utilize and reflect on those problems, but not just stay at the level of reflection, but also try to come up with a plan of action where we call it policy labs. So this is one way we help the students to connect with the ministries, to connect with community groups. For instance, in the past, some of our students have designed these policy labs and they were able to put them into reality. Right now, for instance, one of the largest Qatar disability-related platforms called Qadar is originally born in our desks, actually, with our students. Or some of the applications used by the government originally started as policy labs in our classrooms. So this is how we are trying to kind of frame our mission that, yes, we want change, but also what tools are needed. So it's all for me for now, and maybe there will be a question and answer period. I can reflect more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Talk. It's always wonderful hearing from you. Now, our final speaker for today is the youth leader from the state of Qatar, Ms. Sheikha Al-Mari. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Masa. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you. It's truly an honor to be among such distinguished speakers and thought leaders today. I'm deeply grateful to the organizers, the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, KADEM, and Miguel Youth Advisory Delegation for creating this platform that amplifies youth voices and innovative solutions. Now, as a youth leader from Qatar, working at the intersection of public policy and social development, I'm inspired by how our generation is transforming challenges into opportunities, reimagining integration, equity, and sustainability through creativity, dialogue, and technology. Now, today, social integration faces many barriers: polarization, economic inequality, and what I like to call digital fragmentation, as the previous speakers highlighted already. And we live in algorithmic bubbles where opinions are reinforced instead of being challenged, weakening empathy and trust. Economic disparities further restrict access to education, jobs, and participation. But youth can lead the way out of these divides by creating inclusive digital narratives and using technology to connect rather than separate. Now, young people can rebuild trust between communities and institutions. For example, in Qatar, initiatives under the Digital Society pillar of the Digital Agenda 2030 empower youth to use technology responsibly, ethically, and inclusively, a model that can be adapted across our region. Now, across the world, youth-led initiatives are proving that dialogue can replace division, from youth parliaments and cultural exchanges to digital storytelling. These movements foster empathy and resilience. Also in Qatar, youth have championed digital literacy and online safety frameworks that promote responsible engagement. Our generation already has the tools like communication, creativity, and collaboration. And when these are directed toward building bridges, whether through hackathons for social good or interfaith dialogue projects, they counter polarization and nurture social cohesion. We also see inspiring examples of youth-driven collaboration at every level. For example, locally, the Doha Forum Youth Edition has brought together young leaders to co-create policy ideas on issues like AI ethics and sustainability. Now, regionally, the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum itself stands as a beacon of how youth across OIC countries can unite for humanitarian and social causes that transcends politics. And globally, the Digital Citizenship Ambassador Program, funded by the Qatar National Research Fund, merges research and community engagement to redefine digital inclusion. Now, these models show that when youth are treated as partners, not as beneficiaries only, collaboration becomes transformative. Now, when we look through the lens of Sustainable Development Goal, the SDGs, we see how interconnected they are. For example, SDG 4, education enables opportunity. Gender equality ensures no one is left behind, which is SDG 5. Strong institutions build the trust, which is SDG 16. And partnerships, SDG 17, bring all these elements together. Now, youth can operationalize these links through innovation and advocacy. For instance, by creating social enterprises that tackle unemployment, or by ensuring women in technology advance both gender equality and institutional accountability. Involving youth directly in national strategies like the Digital Agenda 2030 in Qatar ensures that progress towards SDGs reflect the aspirations of the next generation. To truly empower youth, however, governments and international organizations must move from symbolic inclusion to structured participation. That means institutionalizing youth engagement through advisory councils, funding youth-led projects as long-term programs, creating mentorship ecosystem, linking experienced policymakers, for example, with youth innovators, and recognizing digital spaces as legitimate arenas for civic participation. In conclusion, I believe that today's youth are not waiting for permission to lead. They are already leading, already creating, already shaping the future we all want to see. What we need now is not more speeches about youth empowerment, but more partnerships that trust youth with real power, real responsibility, and real opportunities. Together, we can turn the vision into division into dialogue, innovation into inclusion, and ambition into action, paving the way for a more just, compassionate, and integrated world for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sheikha Al-Mari. We will do a brief question and answer session, and then we will conclude. My first question is, Dr. Evren Tok, it's for you. Can you please share any success stories or outcomes from the policy labs that have made a real impact in the community or even at a policy level?
Yes, I mean, actually multiple of them, these labs that we are working on. Usually every year we have around 15 of these labs, but they are in groups. So so far we reached more than 60, 70 of them. And not all of them actually come to life, but some of the labs that come to reality is one of them. For instance, the one I told you about, Qatar, which is the disability resource platform that our students actually did an amazing co-design. Right now it's published. It's not, I mean, not published, but it's actualized. It's in reality. And it was considered as one of the showcases of Qatar World Cup's accessibility program. And another one is called Ukul, which was a program to help the Ministry of Labor to better connect the employers and employees. Some of our students actually designed some interventions into, for instance, how might we make the retirement system in Qatar in a different way so that the retired nationals have a chance because of the age. So this way they have a chance to really analyze in depth some of the challenges and limitations that the society faces. Right now, some of our students are working on, for instance, AI kind of generated dust like garbage bins that actually help and understand the types of garbage and inform the users in terms of kinds of waste they're having in their houses, and at the same time simultaneously inform the municipality about the type of garbage is happening so that the government reduces cost but not going to every household for the same thing. So what you can see is we are working on so many different elements of cost minimization or increasing the value and so on and so forth. So these are some of the ones that come to my mind, but there are many others, of course. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's wonderful, Dr. Talk. I have an open question, so anyone can feel free to answer. How do you integrate the perspective of young people into policy development in a meaningful way? Ms. Sain, would you like to answer?
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, so I believe that the most essential thing to be able to meaningfully include young people in policy discussions is not only to allow them to have the opportunity to contribute, but also building capacity around young people. Because in most cases, young people are not excluded just because they don't have invites. When you look online, you can see a bunch of calls for input from different, for example, different UN organizations. Sometimes governments do the same in their countries. But most importantly, young people are excluded because they don't know the terms, they don't understand the institutions, and they don't understand like the processes to be able to meaningfully be engaged in policy discussions. So like those things are not made understandable, and young people just don't know how to access them. So to me, the key lies in strengthening youth movements, offering trainings, and facilitating opportunities to learn the languages of diplomacy and international law, or also at a more national level, while knowing the principles of law, and that those knowledges are not only limited to students in public policy, but that I would like to see it to be like more of a common knowledge. So yeah, I believe that this is essential for young people to participate fully and confidently. To exemplify this, I would like to share my experience in my organization. My experience in the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation shows that when you give the tools and the platforms for young people, youth are determined to make a change. But the thing is that, of course, our organization only covers a minority of young people, and the majority of young people are unable to make their voices heard. So yeah, this is what I would like to put an emphasis on. And also sharing that, for example, the McGill Youth Advisory Delegation, we have a team that is dedicated to conversations and to influencing the negotiations of the UN tax convention that is currently taking place. And this is a very technical discussion. There are very technical terms. So this would be like a very big barrier for us to be engaged in this, but hopefully like we've managed to be able to learn and to participate in global alliances, for example, the Global Alliance for Tax Justice, which has given us the tools to be able to meaningfully engage in the discussions and to meaningfully influence not only like our government, the government of Canada, and also, well, more broadly, the UN Secretariat in the implementation of this UN Tax Convention. And I believe that this is a good example of how youth could be empowered to meaningfully engage in policy discussions. And yes, exactly. I would just love to see more capacity building in young people.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sain. Does anyone have any other contributions or would like to answer?
Yeah, Masa, I think,
Yes, Mr. Jarjo.
yeah, I think I will agree with the first comment in terms of, the key, one key element being building, capacities of our young people to, not just having them on the table, but are able to meaningfully contribute. But beyond, building capacities, in terms of meaningful engagement, I think it's also important that we are not leaving any group of young people behind. Sometimes you tend to target, those that have gone to school or at university and bring them to such forums and leaving those within the rural setting or probably have not gone to school. But how do we ensure these things are brought to the level and understanding of those young people who have not been privileged, to actually go to school, or those who have gone to school but they are in communities that are hard to reach? How do we ensure that their inputs, are also taken on board, and also those who are, the young people who are disabled, how do we ensure? So you have these different, geographies, or these different ecologies of youth that we need to ensure that we are taking on board, their perspective in terms of policy. So capacity is key, but also ensuring that we are we are really taking on board all facets of young people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jarjo. I have another open question, but Ms. Sheikha, if you would like to answer it as well. How can international youth leaders and organizations collaborate with youth to create more global impact?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. How can international youth leaders and organizations collaborate with youth to create more global impacts, in your opinion?
For me, I think based on, programs, and these programs provide mentorship for youth and provide them with the support that they need to be independent in their own ideas, initiatives for the SDGs goals and cases, and they can be innovative about it and creative about it. And these, I think, programs that includes mentorship, workshops, and include also experience exchange and knowledge exchange, equip youth with the needed skills and knowledge to have the needed guidance to lead, community or civic engagement requested for community's prosperity that's achieved the SDGs goals. That's in my opinion.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sheikha. Ms. Sain, I believe you have something to say.
Yes, I would like to build on Sheikha's answer, and also the previous person that spoke before, because yeah, I completely believe that it is essential to, when your youth organization, include a variety of youth to collaborate, to be able to create a larger impact. This is essential, and this is exactly what we've also realized in our organization, that we couldn't just be a team of 30 people representing their interests of millions of youth. So this is why we've tried to expand our our network to be able to get new perspectives. So we do this through the process of community consultations in our organization, which basically means that we book a room and we invite all other organizations in the city of Montreal to contribute to our policy cycles, because how we function is that we write those policies that would then bring to those international forums to advocate for issues that are pressing for youth. And yeah, this allows us to have the perspectives and ideas, often very innovative ideas of other young people, to be able to include them in our policies. but I completely recognize that this does not specifically, like, it is more difficult to have the perspectives of youth that are not, for example, that are not like in our university, or youth that that don't have access to education, or youth that, of course, that are not in the city of Montreal simply, which is the majority of youth, and after also youth with disabilities. And this is a big barrier that I think is very essential to be able to cross, because, of course, even if we try to include those perspectives in our policies, it's much more difficult without their own perspectives. And I think this is a lesson for not only like us as a youth organization, but also in policymaking in general. It is essential to include the voices that cannot be represented physically.
Thank you so much. Yes, Dr.
Can I-
Zaidan. Of
Yeah,
course.
I totally agree with Sheikha and Leah that a mentorship, cross-regional mentorship networks, creating and building these networks will definitely help. Also, international youth leaders, let's say, and organizations can have greater impact by co-creating agendas with youth. Like when young people are included from the very beginning in shaping policies or in initiatives, in shaping programs, this will reflect like real priorities and gain more legitimacy because it's coming from them. So coupled this could be also through the mentorship, as we mentioned, that connect the experienced youth leaders with emerging change makers across regions. And this approach, of course, will transfer their skills and builds also confidence. And it will help us to have more young people who are innovative, focused, and can sustain, of course, the progress beyond individual projects. Like we're inheriting them a world that's full of crises, full of uncertainties, many challenges now on a global scale. So without trusting the youth and make them empowering them in order, from the very beginning, they will not feel this ownership, and they will. If we do, of course, we'll give them opportunity to have double the impact than if we come to them at certain stage. Now we need you. Now we need to consult with you. So I agree with both of my colleagues here in mentorship and in co-creating agenda.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zaidan. Dr. Evrentok.
I echo all my colleagues, but I also want to make a quick addition, which is in order to really act, you need the skill, which is one of the inner development goals, called courage, right? So I think we should really ask where courage comes from. I mean, especially when it comes to climate or some other areas that we see a lot of international youth activism and leaders. Some of them are really falling short of courage. You know, I feel that they're just become replicas of others, or they're just to save the day, you know, but I don't see the courage and the seriousness. I mean, to be honest with you, the one that I have seen recently is only the Sumut Flotilla. That was real courage, you know, like to make real change and taking it and really seriously and acting on it. But just I will share with you 3 questions that we use for inner development goals that we ask students. One is, when did you last act courageously? How hard is it for you to challenge the status quo, and why? And where do you see real courage in others? So these 3 questions, I believe, are very critical in international youth leadership. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tok. The final question was to Dr. Esmat Zaidan. Dr. Zaidan, thank you again for your contributions. You mentioned that digital inclusion would be a civic right. This would be one of the solutions. How do you think this would be implemented, in your opinion?
The only way for this to become really implemented is to go through a global governance. First of all, we need to have a global governance for AI in general, then of course, to have access to technology and access to AI. So till now, we don't have this framework. It's not there anyway. It's not there yet. Some regions, some countries work on it, but they are customized or tailored to certain countries and regions, certain people. But we want a global one. Without this collaboration, in having it not as a law, actually, like the SDGs that we have, we need it more like a hard law. So we need more AI, need to be checked, need to be verified, because now the emphasis is given on the fast pace of the development of technology without paying attention actually to the the human rights around it, the jobs that could be displaced, for example, the ethical and responsible use of these technologies. So without global governance there, so it will be hard actually for regions to have their own one, their customized one, and without even having going with a soft law again will not be the solution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zaidan. To conclude, I would like to thank everyone and express my appreciation for all of your contributions today, for your inspiring contributions. These key recommendations will be given by your kind side, will be a bridge to empower youth worldwide, to promote social integration, and to reduce economic inequality. Distinguished guests, I would like to kindly highlight that we highly value your esteemed contributions and that these key findings of this program will be presented in a concrete paper to the Secretariat of the Second World Summit for Social Development, the Department of Economic and Social Affairs of the United Nations. Additionally, the key findings will be reflected and advocated at the upcoming gatherings of the United Nations in New York, respectively, the 64th session of Commission for Social Development, ECOSOC Youth Forum, and the Commission of the Status of Women in 2026. It was an honor moderating this event, and it was an honor hearing from all of you. Thank you everyone for joining, and have a good day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Malcolm.